For thousands of years on earth, there was an understanding that God had given mankind 6,000 years to work out their own salvation, to go through one hell of a time with wars and more wars and more wars and more strife. And in the end, they would come to the realization that they couldn't solve their own problems with their human nature, that they had to revert back to some basic laws that would give them peace on earth. That hasn't been fully understood recently because a certain church took control of what is known as Christianity today, and that teaching over a few hundred years was totally wiped out. It was totally gotten rid of, felt unnecessary. When Christ began the Church of God on earth, he gave a simple prayer to his Father in heaven. These two great beings formed themselves into Father and Son, and eventually we will all become members of that family. He was the firstborn of millions and billions, but he prayed to his Father and he said, "Father, let your name be named upon this church." But in Antioch, where the Apostle Paul went to speak, the local residents there began to call the Church of God the Christian church, these Christians amongst us. And that caught on and it spread. The problem was, at the same time, the original 12 that Christ had taught was warning of vicious wolves entering in to the true church of God, the church that Christ said, "Let your name be upon it. Let it be called the church of God." And in the writings of the apostles, 12 times in the New Testament alone, the church was to be named the Church of God. Christ did not want the Church of God named after him, but these local residents and those who entered in as vicious wolves changed that and made it known as the Christian church, except that the Christian church was complete with a total reconception of false Christianity. The goddess of fertility was worshipped in there. In Britain, she was called Ashtar. Easter and the winter solstice that was held, finally moved by Rome back to December 25th. Christ Mass was actually to worship the sun as it fell down in the winter months, and in every Roman city there was blood sacrifices and women threw their babies in the fire. That's exactly where we get the Yule log today at Christmas time. All of the pagan customs were dragged in and replaced the teachings of the Church of God. Church of God still exists today. It maintains the 7 annual holy days there in Leviticus, and it upholds the teachings of Christ. He said, "Remember me by a simple Passover held one time a year, not by the wafer and the wine every Sunday when you show up on this day of the sun, but once a year in a simple Passover service." Christ said that he was to be remembered, not on his birthday. That's a totally pagan custom that was brought into what became the Christian church, the name now that covers every form of worship virtually, as long as you invoke the name of Jesus Christ. So let's be certain that we go back to remembering that God gave this world 6,000 years to prove that it could not live without obedience to the laws of God, and that God himself, in the form of the one who came originally as a sacrifice for all law breaking, that we go back to keeping his laws to prove ourselves worthy to be protected for World War III. And 1,000 years of world peace then comes right after that.